You know, I was having a slow day, getting ready to review a certain crowdfunded comic, and all of a sudden, I hear the sound of chicken bones drumming on paper plates. What? Oh my. It's March, but look! Chitlins, drippings, biscuits, and grits. It's an early Kwanzaa. Oh, the Wick is back and got a new series, White. Because fake holiday is anything if not fucking generic. This is real, 100% real. From Sci-Fi comes exclusive first look, hit. Hit? That's not exactly the word I would use. Let's fix it. Let's fix the headline. Exclusive first look, completely forgettable in every way indie comic. Well, see, that's not entirely accurate. It's still missing something. I know. Exclusive first look, completely forgettable in every way racist comic black. See, it's just doesn't have everything. Wait, I got it. Exclusive first look, completely forgettable in every way ironically racist indie comic black gets a sequel. Is it really just an A? I think there should be more. We need an adjective. One more time. Exclusive first look, completely forgettable in every way ironically racist indie comic black gets an unwanted sequel generically called White. There you go. So they uploaded this bad boy to Kickstarter. It's the next part of the Black as Fuck Universe trilogy, White. And all the players are back. Kwanzaa Sajefo, Jamal Igle, and Tim Smith III, with an all-new 6-part saga. In this chapter of the magnanimous masterpiece that was black, Theodore Mann, the man of the Mann Corporation that tortured superpowered black people, or Soup Negroes, for decades, somehow manages to become president, because Donald Trump, and he seeks to oppress the Soup Negroes by tricking his fellow crackers into supporting his Man First project of cybernetically augmented, which is redundant because if you're a cyborg, you're obviously augmented soldiers, while the blank slate that was our supposed hero from Black, X. His name is Kareem, but he's lazy, like the guy who wrote the story, so of course his codename is X. Is the face of the resistance. I bet AOC would have something to say about that. Now you've got to keep in mind, the story has never made any sense. Vince McMahon's fake death on Raw when he blew himself up made more sense than anything in this book, and it was actually entertaining. So of course, the plot is just ridiculous. It's supposed to be in our world, and somehow, racial politics just flew out the window. All those white people who call themselves progressives just evaporated. The country will just totally be swayed to support a guy who was shown on video having tortured and killed scores of black people, including children, a video that was leaked to the public, and yet somehow white people be so evil they vote him into office. Yeah, it's fucking retarded, but you knew that. If you watched this channel, you already knew that. So Sci-Fi Wire interviewed the crew, and it's just a gem. Starts off with the interviewer saying, "You had incredible success with the Kickstarter for Black. Now that everyone knows who you are, why go back to Kickstarter?" Kwanzaa: "Well, see, everybody don't know who we are." That's a funny way of saying nobody bought the book. "Oh, it was so successful. The most talked about indie comic in 2016, huh? Who are you?" Mfufu continues, "It's a big world out there, and there's still tons of people who just haven't been exposed to black yet." You mean they couldn't find it? That was a problem. Your oh-so-hot book is nowhere to be found. Nobody's putting it in their shops because they can't sell it if they do. As far as coming back to Kickstarter, you're broke and you need more money. We just wouldn't be here if it weren't for our backers. You mean the backers whose orders you never fulfill. They're still on the Kickstarter for Black waiting for their books. Don't you want to send them the books before you start a new one? We want to come back and offer our previous fans back with something real neat. Yes, white people are all evil and scheming to ruin black people's lives. So unique. It hasn't been done hundreds of fucking times by far more talented, actually talented people. But there's also something for people who just getting on the bandwagon. Of course there is. Imagine the pitch. Do you hate crackers? Do you want to slap a honky or two? Well, come on over and support White, and you can make all the cotton swabs feel like sour cream. I'm pretty sure racism isn't a good selling point for a comic book. Just ask Eric Esquivel. So apparently, this is supposed to be part of a trilogy. Black, White, Cablation, and Kwanzaa says, "Yeah, I compare it all to A New Hope. Empire Strikes Back. Nigga, this book is nowhere near Star Wars. You ain't even touching Yui Bowl. The ego. The fucking ego comparing your racist dry orgasm to a masterpiece like Star Wars. Nigga, please. In this book, it's pretty clear who the Empire is. The white people? Yeah, we know. You're lazy and racist. So, yeah, we know. The interviewer asks, are you approaching this series differently? He's not. It's gonna be the same lame shit, but listen to the spin. Literally Who says, I'm a big fan of reading a story and watching the characters grow. You rarely get to see how a character learns or is affected by the events that have happened to them previously in mainstream comics anymore. Well, we didn't see it in your book either. You had 6 issues, and we never once, not once, got Kareem's reaction to what was happening to him. Then y'all had 3 follow-up series where you continued not to do that. And Claire Huxtable jumps in, I'm embracing much more of a manga influence for White. Oh, so you're taking something from Japan to tell a story about black people. Sounds like cultural appropriation to me. Stealing other people's cultures because you're ashamed of your own? Maybe if you embraced America, you wouldn't have this problem. Then he hits on another problem. The interviewer brings up that Kareem, the main character, is invulnerable and has Deus Ex Machina powers. Basically whatever the story requires. And Jamal is like, absolutely, Oprah. He can't die, so he doesn't always think about the consequences for the people around him. He never thinks about the consequences for the people around him, that's the problem. And way to suck out all the potential drama from your character. If he can't die, what's the risk? Why should we care? This is precisely the problem with Superman, which is why writers give him a good cast of supporting characters he actually talks to and cares about, so that when they're put in danger, we as the audience care too. Y'all didn't do that. Y'all just put the boy in the book and went, he's black, like him, and thought that was gonna work. Now, instead of putting this story out through a publisher, since y'all also super hot, you're doing another Kickstarter. What? Black Mass don't pay no money? Image or Boom or IDW not calling? Maybe one of y'all should transition to a white woman. I hear that works wonders. Kwanzaa? Go. You're only one step away anyway. I know it's wrong. So then we get to the villain Theodore Mann, the man, and Fake Holiday says, we bringing in some of a rival for Theodore Mann's son Thaddeus. He really the opposite of X. He always be having wealth and power. We're always been open to him, and he don't know nothing other than that. Cause that's how white people's lives work. Bad things never happen to them. Their white skin acts like a shield, like Gar's Sandgore, just blocking shit without them even looking. Then he says, Kareem essentially is his opposite, in that he come from nothing, but achieves his great power. Well, he didn't achieve anything. He got shot and then woke up with the powers and was powerful right from the start. No effort, no training, just Pookie Sue right from the start. Thaddeus probably has to prove himself worthy of his father's legacy. Kareem just gets what he wants. Finally, we get to the point of this racist comic. The interviewer asks this totally not loaded question. Would you say that in white, racial and socioeconomic and privilege is also a power? Would you say someone should have edited your sentence and removed the extra and? Of course he would agree with you. This nigga ain't got no fucking sense. Unlike normal black people, he doesn't put 2 pounds of sugar in his Kool-Aid. His is sweetened with Ta-Nehisi Coates jism and Michael Eric Dyson's titty juice. That's why in this new plot, Theodore Mann has been elected president after people hear allegations of him experimenting on the Subnegros, which we saw in the first series. Jiminy Christmas says, despite people knowing about the allegations, in his presidency, folks be willing to overlook that. They believe he actually somebody who has a lot of experience dealing with my niggas, and this the best person to lead the country because of this shit. That's a huge shift in the culture. Right, so after they saw the video from Niwa Murte revealing all this shit, again, on video, with some of the victims actually being free to talk about it, people buy this shit. Really? Because when the photos from Abu Ghraib came out, there was no amount of spin Bush could put on those, and half the country was still teed up to kill anybody remotely Middle Eastern. Most conservatives didn't even bother trying to defend it. Same thing just happened with Trump and the separated families, and most of the pictures were actually from the Obama era. Didn't matter. You couldn't unsee this shit. So how the fuck does this work? Better yet, where are the Subnegros? How come they're not stopping this shit? I thought they were all fight the power and rise up. What happened? Where are all the pussy hat wearing white folks? Shouldn't they be backing these people? This sounds like a hot mess, like they've learned nothing. Nothing. Fuck it. We're gonna do it again. No, nobody actually liked the book. Do it again. That man and that other man made money on that other one. We can do that too. See, the difference is people wanted Jawbreakers and Cyber Fraud. They asked for it. Nobody's asking you for a follow-up. They're not even buying the ones you already put out. So if you want support, pucker up, buckaroo, and start kissing a lot of white ass, because that's the only way you're gonna get funded. And that's also why White is a Kickstarter exclusive. Eventually they're gonna put the book in stores, but they want to have the completed book done for the Kickstarter first. This is actually the only smart thing about this project. Make it exclusive to crowdfunding first, offer a bunch of incentives, and a few months later, release the chapters as individual books, and later a trade. I mean, nobody's gonna buy it, but it's still a smart move. So to wrap up this loose grip handjob, the interviewer asked, what is the one thing that you want people to get from this series? Forgiveness, patience, a view of how not to write a story. Ghetto Attorney at Law says he wants people to know Kareem's journey. Well, you have to show it first. Nobody's gonna give a shit about him if we never get to know him. Nobody says, I want people to read the book and really put themselves in the situations of what these characters would do. Yes. What would you do if you woke up in a world where everyone who looks like you is a racist bigot? What he really says is that he doesn't think comics ask what people would do if they woke up with superpowers. And I'm like, have you never heard of Marvel Comics? Have you never read anything they've published? As much of a shit show as the books are now, they're definitely slice of life, what would I do if I had powers and my family knew stories. You're not covering new ground, dude. This has literally been done before either of your parents were born. He is right about one thing though. People will pick up White, read about how every white person is a privileged racist douchebag with no problems ever, and be like, hey, that's something I never considered. As for Mpupu, he tries to quote James Baldwin. Dude, you're not in his league. Stop it. Your ego is so big, it's almost bigger than you think your dick is. Tone it down. All the way down. He says, James Baldwin spoke about the destructive and self-destructive idea of white identity. It's a link to white supremacy and what upholding that social construct takes away from people. You have no idea what the fuck you just said. That's why I read it that way. Seriously, somebody take away his dictionary. I hope we can convey that in this story, not as something that's damning, but just something that's very human. Yes. Calling the idea of white identity destructive, self-destructive, and linked to white supremacy is in no way damning. Nigga, do you know what words mean? They represent things. You can't just put them out there. You're damning white people and then turn around. I'm not trying to damn them. Yes, the fuck you are. That's the literal definition of damning. That's what you're doing. No white person with an ounce of self-esteem would buy anything like this. They wouldn't touch it. This is your pitch. The very thing that you are is bad. Buy my book. You hear that? Hear that? That's the sound of thousands of white people telling you to do the thing that's probably the only way you ever have sex. He ends with this. We need to actually put a name on our real-world situation and examine it in order to move past it as a country. It's called racism, and I agree that we need to examine it in order to move past it. So I encourage all of you to support his book. Go pledge your money to his Kickstarter. Be nice. Don't be mean. Be nice. Let him know that as a privileged white man who's never experienced a bad moment in his life and couldn't possibly understand the concept of suffering, poverty, discrimination, or prejudice, as 20th century Europe would clearly demonstrate, you'd like to support his book in solidarity and an apology for your whiteness. If you could suck the melanin out of his skin and put it into yours so Kwanzaa could be the white boy he truly wants to be, you would do it. But since you can't, here's $25 for Mein Kampf Part 2. Go and spend it on comic books and manga that you'll rip off and yet still manage not to tell a good story. But what do I know? I'm just... Oh, fuck me.